And we're back with episode 48 of Brentocast, live from the bath this time, folks. It is now 5:54 in the a.m. I did get a swank espresso machine for Christmas, and I got to messing around with that yesterday on the tail end of this flu-like cold, and had maybe 3 different cappuccinos yesterday. And I guess as a result, maybe that, and just I've gotten some extra sleep now, resting up from the sickness. I am, up a little bit early today. And I had a minute and thought, what could I do for these final 2 or 3 episodes of the year? Now, as I mentioned, I have a vacation scheduled starting actually tomorrow evening. But I have an idea to potentially alter that to make it a little bit more easy to do with a cold, and also a little bit more friendly for Delilah. These marathon trips to the beach, meaning like when we stay more than 2 or 3 days, 4-dayers are rare for us. And I always find that at that 3rd day, I'm really ready to come home. And then one more issue with going to the beach for me personally is the air down there is different, and I don't know if it's the salt in the air or just pollution in general, but I do always come away with a bit of a sore head and a throat and nose, kind of like really ready to get back to the clean country air. And I don't know if that would be ideal for this time when I'm kind of already coming off of a sort of a head cold situation, but in any case, we'll see how that goes. I have an idea of how to maybe modify that. We had planned to spend time in 2 different places anyway. One of those places is closer to here, only 2 hours away. So that's Florence, South Carolina. We'll see. Maybe the idea of potentially doing the whole vacation in Florence. Florence is a cool town. There's a lot of stuff to do there, a lot of different kind of shopping places. And of course they have Buc-ee's, which we're fans of, and we've wanted to take Delilah to since we visited it back in November. So, I don't know, I may pitch for that being the vacation instead of going both places, but we'll see. Anyway, 2 things I wanted to dedicate these final couple of sessions to. I need to talk about, like, some musical relationships, and, it's the kind of thing where, gosh, if you drop dead tomorrow, which I don't plan on doing, but if I did, I wouldn't want all these Brentocasts to go by without at least talking about at least 2 individuals and possibly 3 individuals and how they've really aided my music and supported it, one way or another. So the first guy we're going to talk about is somebody that I met about 8 years ago when I responded to an ad on Craigslist, of all things. And this is only one of 2 ads I've ever responded to, and the other one was more recent, and it was a complete disaster. But back in the day, I was working for Bright House Financial, converting their old insurance website to the new one, working with some Adobe content management systems out there. And I found that whole experience, it happened to be in Valentine, and I found that whole experience fantastic. Great company to work with. All the people were just absolutely aces, and nothing bad to say about that particular contract experience, except for it was short. It was only 3 months. And being that it was short, they kind of under-timed how much they needed to use us. And there was at least, in that 3 months, there was at least 3 weekends where I worked like 7 days a week, which was great money. I mean, as a contractor, I'm not complaining. And they took care of us, too. They fed us those days, which was nice. They had a Starbucks franchise in the office. That was awesome. I'm not a coffee fiend, but when it's there and you need that extra boost, that's pretty cool. By the way, we went to the Starbucks in Albemarle yesterday. I'm looking for new coffee joints, and since I had to kind of let go of my old one, the Starbucks in Albemarle is perfectly fine. And normally it's not absolutely, slammed. Of course, yesterday being the day after Christmas, a.k.a. Boxing Day. You left me on the day after Christmas. Anyway, it was pelted. And we go, and I'm like, I don't usually eat bread or cookies or nothing. But coming off this cold, you know how it is, you want to feed a cold. And I was like, I need to get me like an oatmeal raisin cookie and a cappuccino. The cappuccino being perfectly fine for my diet. Of course, the cookie not. So we go there, looking at their menu. They don't have a oatmeal raisin cookie. I thought I would ask. The girl goes, no, we don't have that. So I was going to get one of their other ones, and she goes, and actually, we're completely out of pastries. Now, to be fair, this was 5 o'clock in the evening. And I said, what about the egg protein box? And she's like, I just sold the last one. So literally all they had was coffee. So I did have my cappuccino, and it was fine. And then I ended up getting into the new, pardon me, the new espresso maker here at the house, and had 2 more in the evening. But anyway, that first one, you're just working it out. The second one was pretty good. Better probably than the coffee shop that I had been frequenting most recently. So anyway, excited about the prospect of making my own, But this individual that I responded to this ad was a Canadian guy named Gary. And I gotta say, Canadians, to me, they always kind of seem like the cool kid. The cool kids in school a little bit. They're a little more liberal than us, a little more free-thinking than us being Americans. A little more just kind of send it and go for it and don't worry about the consequences. In my experience, as you get to know them, some of them are really cool and super solid people. A few of them that I've gotten to know are not, and like I said, just in general, they're like the cool kids. They're mysterious in a way. Most of them I find are alcohol drinkers, which many of my friends, in the States that I'm making through music are not. And it's almost like a prerequisite for Canadians. Like, most of them drink alcohol. So whether it be like, the hard stuff or beer or wine or whatever, that's just like, so they're a little edgy, as opposed to my friends here. But anyway, this guy was an interesting character. And as it turned out, I didn't like him very much. Truth be told, I did not like him very much. But he did some things early on that kind of won me over to the idea of playing with him. We talked about, I shared my music. The initial response I get to my music usually is that people, and this is not an arrogance thing, it's like, if they want to play with me, usually they say things like, I really like your songs, we could probably put a band together behind this. That, of course, plays to my ego immediately, and it kind of puts me in a position to be manipulated a little bit, if I'm being honest, just because I don't get to hear that very often. I don't get that kind of collaboration. And up until that point, music had been a slog for me. I didn't have a Harrison Foreman. I didn't have these other people, Lee McRae, and these other people that have supported my music locally. I didn't have that, and I was really eager for that. And when the first time I got together with Gary, he was a good bass player, and he had actually prepared parts for my songs, like original parts, and he went, oh, here's what you got on the record, but I think this will be cool. And that really fired my imagination. So I got behind the idea. He was like, well, I know these other players. I can get this person. I can get that person. One of the things he was able to get was he had this Italian girl that played violin for him, and she was a good player. Again, I didn't have any chemistry with her, and she had not prepped for my music. So when we got there, and she was supposed to be the singer, and she was this mousy singer and all this, and I was like, well, that's not going to work. And her playing was, technically she could play, but she was not prepared. And violin, or aka fiddle, if you will, she was really more of a violin player. It can be just really destructive to any melody if their pitch isn't good with the instrument and they aren't really prepared. Not everyone can ad-lib. Now, somebody like an Angel Pius, who I just worked with, excellent at ad-libbing, I'm sure, just because I heard him warming up, and I'm like, the dude's pitch was just amazing, it was all on pitch. It's an instrument, there's no frets, so it can easily go flat or sharp, typically sharp. Anywho, so I got together with him one time, just me and him, and then we got together, and he said, I'm going to bring in my percussion player, and he brought this guy in, this tall Puerto Rican dude, and he really struck me. He's from you could tell he had kind of grown up in New York, and he had that sort of Jimmy Smits demeanor. I don't know if you know who Jimmy Smits is. He's an actor on one of those Dick Wolf cop shows. Law and Order, and this guy really hit me with a strong Jimmy Smits vibe, and I always thought Jimmy Smits was like just this coolest persona, you know. So instantly I'm like, oh, this dude's cool, man, you know. And on top of that, really good percussionist. Like he totally had a cool kit, and he brought it in. He brought these big tall congas, and you know, congas, if you're not exposed to them, and Latin rhythms in general, as a guitar player, it's exciting. It's different. It's not like the shoo-shoo-pa, shoo-shoo-pa, shoo-shoo-pa that we're all accustomed to, you know, like just with a typical drummer. So I was like, ooh, you know, hearing my songs played over that, like immediately, like I became very enthusiastic about it. And then we had maybe 2 or 3 practices with Gary. Gary had some health issues going on where he had to have his, basically had to have a colostomy bag put in. And, you know, I don't hold that against the guy. It was going to be taken out, but they had done a surgery where they nicked his intestine or something. So that's what caused this temporary colostomy bag situation. But he was making all these really crude jokes and about it. And he's like, oh, hang on. Oh, I just went to the bathroom. And he didn't say bathroom, you know. You know, I guess in a different situation, I might have found that crude humor funny. But in that particular one, I'm like, hey, bro, I'm coming here after a 10-hour work day to teach you guys some of my songs so we can do this. And I don't know, like your potty mouth humor is not really hitting me. He was married to a American lady, I guess, and they had a really nice place over there in Ballantyne. I was impressed with it. It had a super nice pool, had some cool dogs, big garage, kind of a tight but not super tight neighborhood. And all the guy did was diss America. And I was like, oh, bro, don't do that, man. It's like, you know, it's like you're not even from here, man. It's like I don't come to your house and tell you how you guys have a Nazi for a leader up there, do I? No, I don't. So just, you know, come on. You know, and even after I just I felt like I expressed my discomfort with that kind of talk, and I was like, hey, let's just keep it about the music, man, you know, whatnot. Of course, he hated Trump. Not that I'm a Trump lover, but at that time I was like, there is no flipping way I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. I'd already made that decision. But anyway, so didn't dig him. The girl sort of fell through, flaked out, and then he had another girl that was going to come, and we had one final rehearsal scheduled, and she no-showed on us. So it was just the 3 of us, and we were sitting there and playing, and I just thought, man, I don't know, dude, this Gary guy's not going to work out. But I really like this Tony Torres character over here, this Jimmy Smits, long, tall drink of water, cool New Yorker type guys. Like, I want to know more about what kind of music he's doing and whatnot. So we just exchanged numbers, and that turned out to be like one of the most fateful meetings, you know. I do remember, it was probably the first time that we played together. I got his number, and then after the Gary thing sort of fizzled, I was like, well, hey, man, are you up for playing with me? Unlike these guys, I actually do go play shows. So we started playing shows together. First at first at Little Tokyo Lounge on 52 North in Albemarle. We played a lot of those shows, and some 8 years later, I would say that Tony and I have probably played in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 gigs together, maybe more. But I think that's a realistic number in 8 years. Some were for pay, quite a few were free. But always I try to get us food or get Tony at least some gas money. And that's something I've really struggled with playing free gigs. It's like at a certain point I was like willing to kind of volunteer everybody for that. In recent years I've been like, I only want to volunteer myself for playing for free, because it's not the same for me to play for free in Albemarle or within 30 minutes of here, and Tony to come and play for free. That means it's costing him $20 gas to come play for free. So it's not free. It's in the negative. And the older you get, the less tolerant you are of that sort of thing. And for sure, at this point in my life, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to at least be compensated to the point where it doesn't cost me to play. And, you know, venues just have to understand that. And that said, I mean, I'm very humble. I'll play at somebody's living room. Just don't make me pay to do it. I'll play a backyard bar mitzvah or a mausoleum. I don't care. I love to share my music. Just don't make me pay to do it. And some of these gigs, unfortunately, you know, have turned into the kind of thing where I'm thinking of one in particular. I'm not going to diss them because they've been super kind to me, and I have had a good time. But there is one that I do now from time to time, 2 or 3 times a year maybe, that it works out to where it's me carrying my gear and setting up, playing outside, for free, and not even, more than 1 or 2 people stop by to see it. And that kind of thing, as much as I enjoy doing, I'm going to really try to limit that in the future. If there's good exposure, if it's a big event, that's different, But as far as playing for free for like 1 or 2 people that trickle by, that's I can do that at the store. I can set up at the store and play. If I really want to play a show at the store, I can play on the deck or play inside. And for sure, in an hour, at least 30 people are going to hear me. At least 30 people. And a few of them will sit down and listen, so that's fine. But yeah, just traveling to play for free. I digress. But anyway, Tony has proven himself to be such a great friend to me. And whereas other musicians I play with, I kind of had to put my mind to understand them and their needs as human beings, not to not to put too many demands on them or wear them out with my enthusiasm or my desire to rehearse together. I try to have to kind of empathize, like put myself in their place. But in Tony's case, he's very similar to me. He's just a few years older than me. He's got 3 kids. I've got 2 kids. His daughters are similar age with my son. I've got 1 grandchild. He's got 1 grandchild. I am fortunate in not having to hands-on take care of my mom. He has to take care of his mother-in-law and his mom. I can really relate to his life situation. So, and also he's one of those people that's like, if I say, hey, do you want to play on this day? It's not, oh yeah, sure, I'll play on that day. And then the weekend of or whatever, he'll be like, hey, I didn't know we were playing this weekend. What do you mean? I didn't have anything down. And, other people in my life that does come up from time to time. And whereas I don't want to be like a schedule Nazi, I do put everything up way in advance on my events and on my music page. The reason I do that is so when, somebody says, oh, well, you didn't tell me about that. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I did. The events page that's the schedule of record. And that has been up for the last 6 months. I had early in 2023, I actually had my entire calendar for the year, which was awesome. Now, we had maybe 5 gigs come up that were not on that calendar at first, but they got put on that calendar. So, and also, it's a cool thing to look back and see how many gigs I did play, in the past. So, it's kind of like a gig journal, if you will. But anyway, Tony has been amazing amazingly consistent. He's literally never no-showed on me or, didn't know we were playing and had to come late or whatever. And I actually think he's unique in that way. I don't think I've had one other player that played with me for any period of time that didn't either forget about a gig or come late or something like that. Rock solid. On top of that, Tony has really taken care of me in the recording department when I brought him in as a producer to work on other things that I have that I've lined up. I always try to get him paid, as I do any of my session players. But last year I had occasion to use him on my record, and I tried to pay him. He's like, I'm not going to charge you. And I thought, oh man, that's really friendship, dude. It's like he didn't have to do that, So anyway, I feel like I count Tony as one of my best friends, and certainly somebody that I just look up to, have a lot of respect. And it's like there's not many people, in music that can big brother me, meaning somebody that I know is in a similar boat to me, but he plays with all kinds of groups, Dances Vindy. I got to go see him play in that, and other people hire him. He's been treated well and mistreated, and I know that because we've had these conversations, and whereas he's probably played in more higher income brackets in the pay to play than I have. On the other hand, I probably played some bigger places than he has. So we have this back and forth experiences that we get to share. And I just really, really appreciate that. I have such an appreciation for Tony. I really love him as a friend and just respect him as a musician. And I don't know what else to say. I'm really thankful for the day that we hooked up. And in that regard, Gary, who I'm just going to call him Gary the Canadian, who I don't have bad feelings about by any means, but I just consider him kind of like Gary the a-hole. But Gary actually really did me a solid by hooking me up with Tony, and that's awesome. I mean, like that whole engagement with Gary was totally worth it to get to come out of it with a guy that I can call to do my percussion anytime I have a show where I need that. And moving forward, I'm going to just keep trying to find better and better gigs to invite Tony on, and I hope that we get to continue doing music together for many, many years to come. And that is going to wrap up this episode, and I'll move on to another of the couple of really critical players in my music. But hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for listening. Brento out.